Hey everyone, MacAndSwiss here, and welcome to your first ever Roblox scripting tutorial. I've designed this tutorial and course to be as in-depth as possible so that when I release future videos in regards to making a specific thing such as a luggage drop-off, you will be able to follow along a little bit easier. So with that being said, let us begin. So we're going to just start off by inserting a fresh script into server script service, and you can name it whatever you want. So let's go over the first basic concept of Lua, variables. So what is a variable? Essentially, a variable is anything that holds a value. So a variable can be a number. So I can say my number is equal to 3.14. A variable can be a string. So I can say my string is equal to a. So it can be a single character, or it could be a group of characters, or a whole sentence. A variable can also be a boolean, so we can say my boolean is true or my boolean is false, and this is particularly useful when you are checking for things that are either true or false and not anything in between. And there are a ton of other types that Lua supports, as well as some that Roblox themselves add, so I would highly recommend you to check out the wiki when you are not sure about what variable type that they use. There are also some more advanced things that variables can hold, such as tables. They can also hold functions, or they can hold object references. And to put it very, very simply, object references are essentially pointing to that object. They don't say what the object is, they just say here is where it is. So we can say my reference is game.workspace.baseplate, which is pointing to the base plate inside the workspace, which is inside the game. Now let's go over one of the things that you might have already noticed, and that is the red line that is running through each of my variables. Typically, when Roblox finds an error in your script, it will tell you by drawing a red line over what part it believes is causing the issue. In my case, I can hover over this, and it'll give me an error that says unknown symbol my boolean. You might be getting a different error depending on whether you are using Roblox 5.1, which is the default, or Roblox Studio in Lua U, which is the new beta. And you can quickly check that by simply running a command at the bottom and just say print _ version. Lua U for me. So you might be getting a different error, but all it boils down to is the fact that these are global variables in a situation where they might not be needed. So what is a global variable? So to put it shortly, a global variable is a variable that exists throughout the entire script, whereas a local variable stays within its own block, after which it will be nilled, or destroyed essentially. So let's create a function. Let's call it my cool function. And let's say that we have a local variable called cool variable, and we'll set it to 42. Now, if we print it inside here, and we run the function by calling it, all of this will be explained in a later episode, and we click run, it will print out 42. However, if we decide that we want to print out the cool variable again outside by printing cool variable, you will see that Roblox will actually tell you that it doesn't recognize what cool variable is, and sure enough, when you try to run it, it will give you nil. So what nil basically means is that it essentially doesn't exist. So you're trying to print something that doesn't exist. So what local variables do is that they exist within their own block. So like I said, it only exists within my cool function, and after that, it does not exist and is therefore nil. You can easily check which block a variable is a part of by looking at the arrows on the left-hand side of the script and clicking to expand or contract the function or the block itself. Keep in mind that variables can actually override each other, and Roblox, or Lua in general, will automatically use the one that is closest to it. So we have my number right here, which is 3.14. But let's say that we don't want my number to be 3.14, but we don't want to change it for the whole thing. Well, sure enough, right here, we can say my number is equal to 42, and we can say we can print my number. Let's get rid of this code at the bottom. And so while the my number at the top is 3.14, when we actually run the function, it will choose the closer one or the more local one and print out 42. And we can see that it doesn't actually change the outside variable by printing my number at the bottom here after my function. And sure enough, we see 42, which is the function itself, as well as 3.14, which is the outside my number. So I recommend most people to use local variables most of the time, unless you have a situation where you actually need a global variable. It's just common practice. So with that out of the way, let's go on to one of the applications for this in Roblox. So let's say that you have a part in your workspace, and we'll just leave it at part for now, but you want to change the name of the part as soon as the game starts. Well, you can easily change Roblox's any property of a Roblox object through scripts. So let's go back into our script, and let's first make a variable that points to this part. So we can say local my part is equal to game.workspace.part. And it might automatically fill it in for you for Roblox if it detects that it is there. So now we have a variable that points to the part. So now anytime that we want to say something about the part, we don't actually need to say game.workspace.myPart every single time, which can definitely get tiring. So now let's change the name of it. So what we're going to do is just simply say myPart.name, which is the property that we're trying to edit, is equal to Joe. And when we run this script, we can see that when we go into workspace now, the part is now named Joe. Now, here is where I need to say one of the big mistakes that I see quite often in scripting, and that is not realizing that certain things or that variables and object pointers are very much different things. So let's say that we want to make this even more compact, right? Why don't we just set the name here? And let's just say that my name, and let's just set that to Joe. And let's run this. And, well, our part is still named part. And the reason why this does not work, and why it works without the dot name and the dot name right here, is that when you have it, and I'm just going to undo for time's sake, when you have it like this, you are directly saying that this variable, my part in this situation, is going to be set to the property value, which is currently part. So when you actually change the variable, you aren't changing the property of the part, you are only changing the variable. And we can easily see this by simply saying print game.workspace.part.name, and we can change the variable, and then we can say print my part. And you can see that actually, let's move this to the bottom. You can see that the part's name is still, which is referenced by game.workspace.part.name, is still named part, but the variable is named Joe. So when you are setting variables, I recommend that if you are going to be changing the variable, to set it to the object reference, or in this case, the part, or it could be a script, it can be a character, it can be anything like that, but just not the property itself. That way you won't get confused, and you won't have a issue where you're trying to set some object and or you're trying to set some property and it doesn't work out for you. So with that being said, I have my first scripting challenge for you guys. So today's challenge is going to be recoloring a part. Now, there are two ways that you can do this. You can either change the part's brick color or the part's color. And you might need to take a look at the Roblox wiki, which I will link the pages down below in case you are interested in order to achieve this. But all I want you to do is to create a script that changes a part color from any two colors that you want. But that's going to be it from me today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, my name is MacAndSwiss, the most Asian brony on the internet, and I'll see you all next time.